Hello and welcome to VTV News live from Hanoi. I'm Hoa Leung, and let's now first check out the headlines for this hour. Vietnam-India tighten bilateral ties. Indian President's Vietnam visit. The 35th IPA General Assembly kicks off in Laos. And the storm Kamaiji is forecast to strike the northern coast of Vietnam later today. The first news for this hour. Indian President Pranab Mukherjee arrived in Hanoi on Sunday, beginning his state visit to further strengthen the country's traditional cooperation and strategic partnership with Vietnam. He was officially received at a reception at the Presidential Palace on Monday by State President Trương Tân Sang. During the meeting, the two leaders praised the progress made in terms of cooperation since the mutual visits of respective leaders, particularly President Trương Tân Sang in October 2011 and Party General Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng in November 2013. They also discussed guidelines and measures for boosting the Vietnam-India strategic partnership, as well as regional and international issues of mutual concern. Since Vietnam and India established diplomatic ties in 1972, they have become important partners, with bilateral trade increasing by an average 16% each year since 2009, reaching the $5.23 billion mark in 2013. Following the reception, the two presidents witnessed the signing of 7 agreements. These agreements concern the launch of direct flights between both capitals, scouting for oil, an extended line of credit for purchase of defense equipment, amongst others. On the same day, the two presidents attended the inauguration of the Indian Study Center at the Ho Chi Minh National Academy for Politics and Public Administration. The new center is aimed at boosting academic exchanges and understanding between policymakers in both countries. Indian leaders have emphasized that Vietnam plays a key role in India's Look East policy, along with their desire to focus on bilateral ties with Vietnam as part of the multilateral cooperation with ASEAN. Our following report explains how Vietnam has earned such a place in India's foreign policy. Implemented since the early 1990s, India's Look East policy aims to boost political and economic relations with the whole Asia-Pacific region, in which the ASEAN countries, with their strategic locations and emerging economies, are potentially key partners.
The maritime routes that connect the Indian Ocean with the Pacific Ocean are very important to India, and most of these routes go through ASEAN territorial waters. Along with their emerging economies, this has made ASEAN countries partners that India must acquire, and thus the Look East policy was born.
After 2 decades, India has successfully strengthened its cooperation with ASEAN. The economic relationship from single sectoral dialogues became comprehensive dialogues and now strategic partners.
You can see step by step we are moving towards closer cooperation, also assisted by steps like ASEAN-India Free Trade Area in goods. We have signed an ASEAN-India Free Trade in services. All the ASEAN countries, along with other partner countries and India, are also discussing now RCEP, Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership.
Besides boosting cooperation with ASEAN as a whole, India has been strengthening its ties with ASEAN members as well. Vietnam is recognized as an important pillar because the country shares similarities with India in history and culture, while also taking part in a diplomatic relationship with India that was established decades ago.
India has the closest political and traditional ties with Vietnam compared to other ASEAN countries, and India needs both bilateral and multilateral ties so that their Look East policy can become truly comprehensive.
The strategic partnership between Vietnam and India is expected to bring benefits for both sides. It holds the potential to help both countries with their strategic interests, and leaders of the two countries are doing their best to push it forward in the future.
Moving on to other news, the 35th ASEAN Inter-Parliamentary Assembly General Assembly has officially opened in the Laos capital, Vientiane, this morning. The 35th IPA will see the participation of 10 ASEAN member countries, 8 observer countries, Deputy Secretary General of ASEAN, IPU Secretary General, and more than 400 delegates. The National Assembly Chairman Nguyen Sinh Hùng is leading the Vietnamese delegation at the event. The IPA committee meetings will be interrelated in their efforts to maintain and promote peace, stability, and cooperation for socio-economic development. The meetings will also work towards narrowing the development gap within ASEAN through capacity building for entrepreneurs, promotion of green growth for sustainable development, development of skilled labor for integration of ASEAN community, and prevention and control of pandemic diseases. An international conference was held yesterday in Hanoi to review the cooperation between Vietnam, ASEAN, and Russia and discuss the prospects for the future Vietnam-Russia cooperation. Since 1993, the trade volume between Vietnam and Russia has increased 15-fold, reaching $4 billion last year. However, the strategic relationship between Vietnam and Russia was said to not yet to have reached its full potential, especially in trade, education, culture, science, and technology. The conference also discussed breakthrough measures and recommendations to boost the relationship between Vietnam, ASEAN, and Russia. The event praised the host for acting as a bridge between the 10-country bloc and Russia. A Lao delegation led by Defense Minister Sen Nguyen Singnalat began their official visit to Vietnam this morning at the invitation of Vietnam's Defense Minister, General Phùng Quang Thanh. This is Defense Minister Sen Nguyen Singnalat's first visit to Vietnam in this capacity. General Phùng Quang Thanh congratulated his Lao counterpart for being accredited as a Lao Defense Minister and affirmed that Vietnam-Lao long-standing relationship is profound and need upholding. The two sides agreed to further boost the cooperation in politics, education, economic and national defense and security by continuing exchanging experience and expertise. A forum on promoting Vietnamese investment projects in Laos was held on September the 15th by the Vietnamese Embassy in Laos, co-organized by the Consulate General of Vietnam in Laos and the Association of Vietnamese Investors into Laos. About 100 representatives of Vietnamese enterprises participated in the event.
In recent years, many Vietnamese enterprises have invested and expanded operations into Laos despite the regional economic downturn. Vietnam aims to maintain its position as the third largest investor into Laos across a wide range of different sectors. In order to improve effectiveness of investment projects in Laos, Vietnamese investors attending the forum have shared their concerns over several issues.
We're in much need of being able to find people to participate in our training programs to improve technical skills for local workers here in Laos. We need to transport materials and machinery across border almost every day, but the customs are only open 5 days a week. So we propose to extend opening hours at custom gate to allow transportation to go through more frequently.
Many other practical suggestions were also discussed at the forum, including how to build a detailed strategic plan to promote investment into Laos, to shorten and simplify administrative procedures for investments into Laos, to make preferential loans for investments more accessible to enterprises, and how to eliminate or enhance the control of inefficient projects.
A meeting among investors should be held more frequently so that Vietnamese investors can share our experiences and difficulties in order to improve the efficiency of our investment projects.
At the forum, investors were encouraged to cooperate more closely in supporting each other to cope with any existing challenges while investing into Laos.
The Central Economic Committee this morning held a forum discussing the socio-economic development plan for the 2016-2020 period. The forum attracted the participation of representatives from ministries and organizations and numerous economic experts. Participants proposed ideas for a socio-economic development plan for 2016-2020 based on the goals achieved in recent years. The Central Economic Committee will merge these ideas into a complete plan and submit the plan for the government approval. As forecast, in the next 5 years, Vietnam's economy will be greatly affected by numerous events, including the establishment of ASEAN Economic Community by the end of next year, the signing of FTAs within the Customs Union of Russia, Belarus and Kazakhstan, and the European Union, and the possible membership of the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Now, Vietnam's wood exports have experienced a major recovery since the beginning of this year, with many local firms having received orders worth millions of US dollars. A report from the central province of Quảng Ngãi reveals more about the sector's recovery.
According to Vietnam Wood and Forestry Product Association, with its average growth rate, Vietnam's wood export is expected to achieve $6.5 billion this year. This figure shows that Vietnam wood processing sector will be able to recover and grow in the end of this year, as other countries in the region, such as Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, are uncompetitive in terms of wood export. Meanwhile, the world market has been accepted the wooden products using Vietnamese materials. This is a big advantage for Vietnamese wood exporters.
The central region has a great material source, which was recognized by international markets. That is why customers from the EU or Asia, such as the Republic of Korea and Japan, have placed many orders here.
More importantly, Vietnamese businesses have remarkably changed the designs and products. In familiar markets such as the EU, Japan, Republic of Korea or China, local firms have also provided household furniture.
This year, wood sector will achieve a revenue of $6.5 billion US, and currently the sector has earned $3.7 billion US. According to the Ministry of Industry and Trade, the agroforestry sector will achieve $8.5 billion US. Particularly, the Republic of Korea alone imported Vietnamese furniture up to 48.2%.
However, the wood sector of Vietnam really needs a brand, as currently local firms are still exporting unprocessed products. Vietnamese wood businesses have become small manufacturers for foreign retailers. So it's important for local firms to improve their management skills, actively train the employees, and improve the manufacturing capability to create a made-in-Vietnam brand for wood sector.
The undersea cables connecting the Lý Sơn Island in Quảng Ngãi province to the national grid officially came into operation today. After around 20 days of transport and installation, the Vietnam Electricity branch of the Central Vietnam has finished procedures to inaugurate the power supply. This is part of the $31 million US project to provide electricity for the island's 22,000 inhabitants via the 22 kilovolt undersea cables. So far, the power connection to Lý Sơn Island has been stable and all the safety indicators have been met. By the end of this year, 8 out of 12 island districts in Vietnam will be connected to the national grid. Wind and solar power are currently under consideration for the remaining 4 island districts that lie over the 100 kilometers of the mainland. Now, Vietnam National University of Civil Engineering, in cooperation with the United Kingdom's Loughborough University and other organizations, held the 37th Water Engineering and Development Center International Conference, which began yesterday. The conference, focused on sustainable water and sanitation services, has attracted more than 400 participants from 30 countries and territories.
The
The conference highlighted that people in all over the world are coming up with different measures to ensure clean water provision and waste treatment. However, rapid population growth and urbanization are posing a number of challenges for them to accomplish these targets.
Water gets polluted easily when being exposed to radioactive substances, heavy metals or toxic chemicals. Unless a sustainable solution to cope with this is worked out, we might have no clean water to use.
In relation to extending water supplies, is again to really find out which are the areas that lack water supply and need them. And then you need to understand those areas very well.
Covering 9 topics, including environmental sanitation and waste treatment, clean water provision, solid waste handling, and water withdrawal. The 37th WEDC aims at finding practical solutions to environmental problems. As a sustainable solution is reached, it will be shared in different countries worldwide.
I think one of the important things, when you hold a conference, people write their papers, and that very process of writing down and reflecting and thinking about their experiences and what they're trying to communicate to people.
According to the latest statistics from the Ministry of Health, about 60% of Vietnam's farming households lack standard toilets, and 30% lack access to clean water. The solutions discussed in this WEDC are expected to reduce these figures to a large extent. The conference will also host 25 booths displaying and promoting various ecotourism products from participating countries. The conference runs until the 19th of this month.
In the later part of the program, Tropical Storm Kameji is regaining strength and is forecast to make landfall in the northern coastal provinces later today. And then let's meet with a Vietnamese German kid who wins a junior chess title in Berlin and in the EU as well. Welcome back to VTV News, live from Hanoi. Tropical storm Kameji, packing winds of 150 km per hour near its eye, is regaining strength and is forecast to make landfall in the northern coastal provinces later today. Ministries of Agriculture and Rural Development and the head of the Central Steering Board for Flood and Prevention Control, Cao Đức Phát, this morning held an urgent meeting to direct flood prevention and control measures. He asked the authorities in the northern coastal provinces and cities, including Quảng Ninh, Hải Phòng, Thái Bình, and Nam Định, should direct fishermen to anchor their ships in the safe havens. Local authorities were also encouraged to take measures to evacuate people from areas which are likely to be affected. So Vietnam is on high alert as Typhoon Kameji, the third tropical storm this year, is forecast to make landfall later today. More details on the preparation of the localities from the northern province of Quảng Ninh to the central province of Nghệ An.
In Thái Bình Northern Province, over 1,200 fishing vessels with more than 1,000 fishermen on board were recalled to safe havens. The locality has also encouraged the early harvesting of 81,000 hectares of crops, mobilizing local forces to have sped the harvest by Tuesday noon.
In Quảng Ninh Province, a blanket ban has been issued on fishing vessels leaving ports. Tourist boats sightseeing around Hạ Long Bay and Bai Tử Long Bay have also been recalled. 249 fishing vessels already at sea have reported they have found safe anchorages or have already reached the mainland.
Calling ship at sea to sail back to shore is also put on top priority in Haiphong Port City today. Meanwhile, in Nam Định Province, authorities are establishing plans to evacuate residents in low-lying areas. The evacuation work must be finished by 5 p.m. on Tuesday. In addition to tracking the storm's movement, localities were also asked to ensure the safety of dikes, irrigation systems, and construction sites.
According to the National Center for Hydrometeorological Forecasting, as of 4 p.m. today, the eye of the storm is predicted to be at about 200 kilometers southeast of the Haiphong Guangning coast. In the next 12 hours, the storm is likely to move in the northwest direction at around 25 to 30 kilometers per hour and weaken into a tropical depression. And now moving on to other news. Let's now visit with Thuy Hoa Commune in Bắc Ninh Northern Province, where a group of Korean volunteers are carrying out various voluntary activities. Over 100 Korean volunteers in collaboration with the non-governmental organization, the Global Civic Sharing, have not only helped the local community, but also brought the two cultures closer.
These Vietnamese kids were very happy playing with the Korean volunteers and decorated their classworks with colorful pictures. This is the first time I've been to Vietnam, but my first impression is that Vietnamese people are very friendly and the kids are so smart. The Korean volunteers also helped build or fix the kitchens in local kindergartens in order to help improve the quality of the meals for the children. The project also worked with local authority to establish an IT center to serve the education needs of the community. I'm really happy that the Korean people are so passionate in helping us. No matter how hot the weather is, they just keep playing with the kids here. These volunteers have taken their time off work to participate in this program. In order to be eligible, they need to go through several testing rounds.
Most of the volunteers come from big IT companies in Korea. We find it necessary to contribute to the growth in Vietnam, to help nurture young talents in IT.
Programs like this provide a chance for foreign people to visit Vietnam and promote cross-cultural understanding between the two countries.
In the cultural scene, 4 years after its debut, the Sandbank Keeper Opera, which features the live in the Mekong Delta, written by Ca Lê Thuần and performed by the Ho Chi Minh City Ballet Symphony Orchestra and Opera, was debuted in Cần Thơ City. With the combination of the Western classic music and the Southern Vietnam's characteristic and language, the opera was warmly welcomed by audiences. Let's have a look.
The Sandbank Keeper provided a whole new experience for people in the Mekong Delta as the area experienced its first opera. I adore the opera. I was so excited as soon as I saw the orchestra. I have watched plays like this on TV, but it's so great to watch a live performance. The plot is the story of daily life in Cần Thơ City during the American War. The sacrifices and painful losses suffered by local people is portrayed in a whole new way.
I think that it is formal and shallow if the play emphasizes on ordinary thoughts and feelings of people. The important things are national identity, modernity, and humanity that the play conveys.
Previously, acting performances by hundreds of professional musicians and actors like this are only seen in big theaters. However, through this play, people can sense the connection between classical music works and Mekong Delta's culture.
There are similarities between Western opera and Southern Vietnam's folk opera or cải lương in terms of plot, theatricality, acting, dancing. Therefore, some people think that opera is the cải lương of the West.
Despite being a new type of entertainment, the opera received an initially positive feedback from the audience, showing the potential popularity of this art form in the Mekong Delta.
Contemporary artists from Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City have joined others from across Morocco and Pakistan on a tour of the United States as part of an event called Center Stage. In the following report, let's meet the Hanoi's Chi Minh Quartet to learn more about their preparations for their upcoming show.
The twang of the 16-string zither against the bamboo mouth harp, hints at the past. The zither reveals the traditional Vietnamese music. We want to combine them with other kinds of folk culture traits so that we can introduce them to international friends. Sophisticated and versatile, Chi Minh's quartet binds traditional motifs and acoustic instruments in a program of improvised works. These are the sounds of Hanoi, where experimentation is coming into its own.
I tried to reenact the northern folk drum in the past while simultaneously adapt new modern changes.
In a program titled Sounds from Hanoi, Chi Minh's quartet uses improvisation, fusing Vietnamese traditional forms with jazz to create a dialogue between instruments in ways that echo Hanoi's experimental side.
These kinds of contemporary music styles have not been spread widely among people. We hang out and play weird and melodic, nice music together and try to create a dialogue. I want to make people understand what I'm doing.
To prepare for 13 performances in Center Stage 2014, each of the group's musicians had to find and share their unique and creative sides. It was a journey of self-discovery, one that speaks of the way young Vietnamese artists are embracing both outside influences and their own heritage. Sounds from Hanoi opens a window onto one of the world's unsung contemporary music scenes.
The 2014 Europe Meets Asia in Contemporary Dance Festival will take place from September the 24th to the 29th in Hanoi. On the 5 evenings, the audience will experience a broad spectrum of contemporary dance by artists from Belgium, France, Japan, Sweden, and Finland. The Vietnamese hosts will also present their latest creations. In addition, there will be one German-Vietnamese and one Belgian-Vietnamese co-production. Europe Meets Asia in Contemporary Dance is an initiative of the Network of European Cultural Institutes and Embassies in Hanoi in cooperation with the Vietnam National Opera and Ballet. Since 2011, this festival has contributed to a growing awareness of contemporary dance in Hanoi. Free tickets can be collected starting this Wednesday at several foreign cultural centers in Hanoi. Now, a Vietnamese German, Bùi Lê Bảo Anh, won the 12th European Union Youth Chess Championship this year in the under 8 years old boys category after 2 weeks of fierce competition. And let's now meet with this talented child, Bảo Anh, in our following report.
Bùi Lê Bảo Anh was born and raised in Berlin. His parents are from Nghệ An province, Vietnam. Bảo Anh learned chess with his older brother since he was 3. And for the last 2 years, he continually earned chess titles in many contests both in Germany and Europe.
Since he was 3, he was able to set up the chessboard. And just 1 year later, he won some small competitions. At 6, he won the Berlin City Chess Championship.
This collection of over 30 cups is evidence of all the competitions Bảo Anh has won since he was small, and they take pride that plays in the family home.
I myself in the school are really proud of Bảo Anh's achievement. He was a bright and disciplined student, and he was really good at maths. He likes to help his friends, and that's why we love him. The school will continue to help him maximize this talent.
Bảo Anh's parents educating him about his Vietnamese origins. Besides teaching their child Vietnamese, his parents also encourage him to practice chess with his Vietnamese peers.
Bảo muốn giao lưu với các bạn ở Việt Nam mà Bảo cũng rất là muốn giao lưu
Bảo Anh really wants to have a chance to play chess with Vietnamese friends. Last year, he went to the Czech Republic to participate in a U10 competition. There, he met many Vietnamese players. He also wants to visit Vietnam at some point.
Many overseas Vietnamese has recorded achievements, finding fame in the countries they now call home.
And finally, as always, is the updated weather forecast. And that's it for this hour. Do log on to vtv4.vn or youtube.com/vtv4go for more of our program. And that's it. Thank you very much for watching.